There seems to be a lot of consensus amongst people who are predicting 2012 investments. There's just going to be a lot of volatility. Obviously, if you know when to pull the trigger on the selling and buying, you're going to make out like crazy if you know which way things are going to go. I don't think the euro is going to fall apart. I know that there's been a lot of speculation on that, but I think there's going to be a lot of scares about it falling apart, which is going to be very bearish for the metals. Go figure. The people that are investing in the paper markets on silver think completely different from the people that buy physical silver coins. People who buy physical silver coins are looking for safety. People who are buying paper market silver, they're thinking about the economy's good, industry's going forward, and there's going to be more demand for the metal. They see the dollar as safety. So until there's a crisis in the United States or further downgrade of U.S. government debt, it's not going to be good for the metals. And what would happen, it would be gold would primarily go up, and that would not necessarily mean silver would take a big jump upward. But usually when gold goes up a lot, silver will too. So I think these are the things to watch for coming up in 2012. That's what's going to be bullish for the metals, a downgrade of U.S. debt. It seems when they go against Europe, it's bad for the metals, but when you have a downgrade of debt bonds on the United States, that's bad. That's very good for the metals. Very good for the metals. It's almost the exact opposite of what happens when Europe is downgraded. What happened the last year or so? A lot of people have been getting out of stocks and equities, and that's exactly the opposite of what Mark Faber's telling people to do. They're probably better off sticking in with the equities than they are with cash. He doesn't see a catastrophic collapse in equities and stock markets, and there's going to be so much money printing that equities are going to go up. It's better than holding cash. But a lot of people went into the bond market and the inflation protected treasuries, the tips. You know, I know these things were out for some years, and but they've been doing good. They've been doing good. But a word of caution: usually a winner for 1 year, a lot of times the next year, it's a loser. It's just the commodities work that way, the bond markets work that way, the equities work that way. History is one thing, and that's history. So a lot of these people are probably in these Treasury inflation protected securities right now are probably making a wrong move. But you know what? These type of people are totally scared of investing in metals. They want a steady, safe income. Lo and behold, they're going to get screwed, but I personally don't care. I'm looking out to make money for myself, and I'll take the risk in the metals. Although it says even though investors got frightened by headlines of massive defaults and naysayers pulled out, these funds, in other words, the TIPS, Treasury in tax-exempt fixed income bonds and stuff, these funds return positive returns. There was like California. Everybody was talking about there's going to be a default in muni bonds. Everybody was saying that. Well, they turned out to be wrong. But that's history. I don't know what's going to happen next year. You know? I mean, these people are probably going to stick in with these bonds thinking they're safe because, you know, nothing happened from all these warnings for all these years, and then they're going to get hammered. But that's the way it goes, right? This article is talking about, it's from Commodity Watch, and it's basically the same old spiel. You know, it's talking about silver's a bargain below $30, and it's like buying silver today for $30 is like buying silver for $5 10 years ago. Now, I don't know about that being that much of a deal, but it's about as cheap it's going to get, and they're talking about there's some speculation that silver's going to take out $50 an ounce in the first half of 2012 and still continue to float up for the rest of the year, and then in fall it's going to take out $60 an ounce. What I think it's going to do, I think it's going to be all over the place because I think there's going to be so many scares in Europe. Every time there's a fear that the euro is going to go down, the metals take a deep hit. And I think there's going to be as much volatility in 2012 as there was in 2011. So I probably, if I see stuff going way up and got some tremendous gains, I'll probably sell the electronic stuff at different points. I don't think I'm going to stick and hold in with it. If I make cash on it, I'm out of it. That's what I'm going to do. But I'll just be buying coins on the dips because I think people are not waking up fast enough in general, and I think it might not be 2012, but it's not going to be too much off from there, where the older people have been warning for all these years about government defaults and mass inflation and the government not being able to pay anybody throughout the country for whatever types of payments they have, whether it's Social Security or some kind of disability payments and stuff. All that stuff is going to stop. And when that does, I'll guarantee you the physical metals are going to go way the heck up no matter what the spot market does. If people want physical metals, they're going to be paying big bucks for them. They're talking about demand for physical silver is still relentless as individual buyers across the globe and industrial buyers in Asia continue to take advantage of the silver's relatively low price. And that's the key. China is going to keep buying this stuff anytime it dips. And that's something Mike Maloney points out and I like that guy. That guy makes a lot of sense because he says when the price exploded in 1979-80, you only really had the European and American market. Now you got Chinese, Russian, India, all kinds of markets throughout Asia. It's a global market. There are many, many, many more people participating in this market. So it could go a hell of a lot higher than expected. I just can't imagine $1,000 an ounce with, without having a lot of rampant inflation. But it's still, even at $400 or $500 an ounce, that's many, many times up from where it is today. It's about 15 times higher than it is today. So I don't think, some of the predictions of, like say Bob Chapman said calls $500 an ounce. I don't think that's out of line. I think that's reality. He says, and he's talking on this article too, it's also saying this guy doesn't expect the European Union will collapse in the short term. It says German Chancellor Angela Merkel's government will get its way on the fiscal side and give the European Central Bank a green light so the economic output will improve for a time and investors will start buying riskier assets again. Well, what I think is going to happen is they're going to have news one way and then news another way. And the way I'm going to play this stuff is when I don't think the euro is going to fall apart. I'm going to play it when everybody's scared that the euro is going to fall apart. That's what I'm going to be buying. When everybody's thinking everything's great and I see stuff go up, I'm going to be selling. I'm going to make it with the intention that the euro is not going to fall apart, but they're going to be scared out of their wits that it's going to fall apart at different times. And that's when I'm going to be jumping back in because I don't think it's going to right away. So I'm going to try to play off of some of this volatility because I think in 2012 the markets were like going up, and 2011 the markets are going up and down left and right, but in 2012 they're going to be even more exaggerated. So I think there's more potential to make more money, and I'm going to try to see if I can get in and out of it. But as far as the physical silver, I'm not sure about selling some of that stuff. Depends. If it goes up a lot more than $60 and it took a hard move upward, like in the sentiment is extremely high, I might just sell 100 ounces. Maybe it's $67, $70 or whatever it comes out to be, provided I get a good price for it. And I'll just wait. But the way I look at it, there is other investments out there besides silver, so I'd hold on to the cash and wait, even if the silver doesn't go back down. Then in that case, I made a mistake. But you know what? If I knew everything, I'd be I'd be richer than George Soros by far. And I don't particularly think that guy's that bright, so sometimes I wonder how he makes that much money, but that's what he does. But I think the watchword for 2012 is going to be volatility. And it's when everybody's scared. That's really when you got to be brave. And I don't think the euro is going to crash, but I think there's going to be a lot of fears that it's going to crash, and that's the time to pick up some opportunities. And just remember that people that are in the paper markets for metals like silvers have a completely different reverse psychology than the people that are buying coins. And that tells me that those two markets, it's a given, it's a postulate that they must separate. I used to think that was kind of a little bit of a conspiracy theory when they're saying a spot price would separate from the physical price. But considering that the investors in the paper markets don't think of silver as a safe haven, and every time there's an economic calamity, they're selling silver and buying treasury notes, I'd have to assume that the physical market is going to separate from the spot market, and I think that's going to be very interesting when it does, because that's going to tell me that the SOV is going to be nothing but a bunch of worthless paper, and that's going to be interesting, because there are two different mentalities as far as the paper traders and the physical buyer traders. They are they're thinking of two different things completely. So considering that their attitudes are that different, I can see that the price difference is going to be that different between physical and paper silver. It's going to be interesting when that comes about, but that's maybe we're going to see some of the really high prices. SOV going for 65 and the physical ounce of silver going for 400.